ויאמר אברהם, אברהם, ויאמר הנני, ויאמר אל תשלח ידך אל הנער, ואל תעש לו מאומה, כי אתה ידעתי, כי ירא אלוהים אתה, ולא חסכת את בנך את יחידך ממני.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Now, for the honor of this third and final Aliyah to the Torah, we invite forward Rabbi Sharon Foreman, who has chaired committees to hire new clergy and served as a trustee of our congregation, and Carol Princer-Levy, member at large, who's always here, doing everything that she would volunteer to do, and we're so grateful, Carol, for your many years of volunteer service to WRT. We're continuing now in the reading on page 241, as we resume in verse 13. Okay. Who's first? Okay.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai hamvorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayisa Avraham et einav, vayar v'hine ya'il achar nechaz basfach bekananav, vayelech Avraham vayikach et ha'ayil, v'yalehu le'ola tachat beno, vayikra Avraham shem hamakom ahu Adonai yir'eh, asher ye'amer hayom behar Adonai yir'eh. ויקרא מלאך אדוני אל אברהם שנית מן השמיים, ויאמר בי נשבעתי נאום אדוני, כי יען אשר עשית את הדבר הזה, ולא חסכת את בנך את יחידך, כי ברך ברכך והרבה הרבה צרך כחופי השמיים, וכחול אשר על שפת הים, וירש זרעך את שאר אויביו, והתברכו בזרעך כל גויי הארץ, עקב אשר שמעת בקולי. וישוב אברהם אל נעריו, ויקומו וילכו יחדיו אל באר שבע, וישב אברהם בבאר שבע.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nota b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
It is customary in the presence of our Torah scroll, which has been such a source of blessing to our people over the generations, to ask for blessings over our community. We ask for blessings over those who had the honor of reciting the blessings before and after the Torah. We ask for blessing for this entire congregation, for our country, for the state of Israel, and of course, we pause to ask for blessing for all of those in our WRT community and all of those in our wider community and in our world who are in need of healing. And so if there is anyone you are thinking of today who would gain strength from knowing that this community is keeping them in our prayers this morning. I would invite you to hold those names close to you in your hearts as together we sing the words of Mishaberach on page 245.
Let us say Amen. Mishaberach Imotenu Mekor Abraham Avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Page 277. At this time, we will return our Torah scroll to the ark.
Rosh Hashanah used to go by a different name. In Talmudic times, it was called Yom HaZikaron, the day of remembering. Today, I'm remembering Judy Weinberg, the last of WRT's founders, who died this July at the age of 97, marking the end of an era. So join me now in a collective act of Zikaron, remembering back to our beginning. With the baby boom booming, the story of WRT begins like that of countless other American synagogues in the post-war era. Young couples moving to the suburbs, raising families, forming communities. News of an initial planning meeting convened by 8 couples, as you have heard, in April of 1953, spread quickly. By midsummer, interest had grown to 50 families, spurred by a letter circulated by our founders. For some time, it says, the feeling has been expressed that it would be desirable to create a new liberal Jewish organization for our area in Westchester County. This movement will be a forward-looking, creative undertaking. Within weeks, we had become a congregation. Volunteers rolled up their sleeves, pledged to attend Shabbat services at a rotating roster of nearby institutions, and built a little handmade ark, which lived in the Weinberg's basement and was transported by station wagon each week to wherever services were held. Our first Rosh Hashanah service took place on September 9th, 1953, at the Scarsdale Congregational Church with Rabbi Eugene Lipman at the helm. By October, membership stood at over 100 families. Dues were set at $100. In one of his first letters to the congregation, Rabbi Lipman wrote, "The essential virtue of Reform Judaism is our ability to grow and change as our living needs as Reformed Jews grow and change." We are struck, hearing these voices from WRT past, by the clarity, positivity, and farsightedness of their message. All look to the future. All speak of growth and change, creativity and progress. Not one links the establishment of WRT to the survival of the Jewish people, even though less than a decade had passed since the gas chambers and the crematoria. Not one mentions anti-Semitism, although in 1953 there were still neighborhoods in Scarsdale where it was an open secret that our people were not welcome. We remember on this Yom HaZikaron, back to the days of our founders. But when we listen to what they had to say about who we are and how we got here, we hear instead an invitation to remember forward, another kind of remembering. For the Jew, memory works both backward and forward. Zikaron, the Hebrew word for memory, comes from the root zayin kaf resh, or zecher, a verb that means both to bore down like a drill and also to point like an arrow. Amazingly, this Jewish understanding of memory that works both backward and forward, mirrors a scientific understanding of memory. Neurological imaging has established that the hippocampus, the part of the brain responsible for memory, is also active in dreams and imagination. What memory does is not so much to preserve the past word for word, image for image, but rather to link the past, the present, and the future, a combination of remembering and imagining. Memory both drills down and points ahead. Without memory, where we've been, what we've discovered along the way, we cannot imagine where we're going. Without memory, we cannot dream what we might become. So join me now in another act of Zikaron as we remember forward. The year is 2053. I have just turned 80, and I feel grateful to share these remarks delivered on the occasion of WRT's 100th birthday. Shabbat Shalom. How honored we are to return to WRT for this auspicious occasion. These days it takes a lot to get Kelly and me on an electrojet, especially given the option to zoom our holograms anywhere on the planet without spending $6,000 on a so-called economy round-trip hypersonic ticket. Still, for WRT's 100th, only in-person will do, and I feel especially grateful for all the kind people who have told me that I don't look a day over 50. Appearances notwithstanding, much has changed since I last spoke from this bima. Long before WRT officially changed its name to We Reform Together in 2038, this community understood that in a global era, our vision and mission could not remain provincial. Judaism is not only that thing that we do inside a sanctuary or around the dining room table. Judaism is a comprehensive approach to life. It invites us to apply its wisdom to an ever-changing world, inspiring us to meet the challenges of our time, every time, with courage, integrity, and dignity. From the very first, Judaism emerged as a tradition rooted in creative responses to communal trauma. Out of bondage in Egypt, we emerged as a people of God, who would never again serve a pharaoh or any human master, but only God, the one source of all. Out of the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem at the hands of the Romans, we emerged a people of Torah, dedicated to reading together, learning together, praying together, united by the accumulated wisdom we call Torah. And out of the smoldering embers of the Holocaust, we emerged reborn as the people of Israel, bound by our determination to revitalize our identity, our culture, and our faith, both within and beyond our ancestral homeland. These identities intertwine, a threefold cord that will not break. Now in the year 2053, we see how we have had to summon all three identities in confronting the great challenges of our time. As people of God, people of Torah, people of Israel, we have had to marshal our people's collective spiritual, intellectual, and communal resources in order to meet the defining trials and tribulations of our era: the ravages of climate change, the rise of artificial intelligence, and the global lurch toward authoritarianism. Each of these crises has forced us to lean into the transcendent values of God, Torah, and Israel, which have always anchored how we, the Jewish people, creatively respond to a complex and challenging world. Our desiccated and desecrated little planet now has few communities left unscathed by climate change. I say this fully aware that some of you are watching this service on the Immerso Vision from your summer homes in Nova Scotia and Greenland. We would not use the word Holocaust lightly, reserving it for its proper historical definition as the systematic murder of millions at the hands of the Nazis. But when spelled with a lowercase h, Holocaust means to be entirely burned. And it is no exaggeration to use this word to describe how we have exploited countless ecosystems, endangered and exterminated unprecedented numbers of species, and precipitated the displacement of close to 1 billion people, making the present-day global refugee crisis tenfold what it was in 2023. Amid this grim backdrop, we nevertheless applaud how WRT has consistently responded, from building the world's largest environmentally conscious synagogue way back in 2008, to inaugurating the first major synagogue effort to achieve zero waste, starting in 2013, to converting to renewable energy at the twilight of the fossil fuel age, to your present work, resettling climate migrants from drowned communities nearby as the far Rockaways and far-flung as Sri Lanka. In order to do all this, we've had to remember that we are a people of God. That takes as an article of faith our responsibility to safeguard God's creation, to stand before the vast and mysterious universe in humility, awe, and gratitude. Technology advances, we become ever more powerful masters of the world. We can manipulate genetics, regenerate tissues, organs, and limbs, grow animal proteins in a lab, and as announced just last week, we can now terraform 6 square kilometers of Martian soil into a working farm with seeds from the Svalbard Global Seed Vault in Norway. But Judaism would remind us that this godlike ability to create and destroy worlds does not entitle us to use and abuse the world for industry, profit, and human benefit. The psalmist said, L'Adonai ha'aretz u'meloah tevel v'yoshvei ba. The earth is God's, and the fullness thereof, the world and its inhabitants. We are but tenants here. We are not God. We are the people of God, tasked with caring for God's world. Our Jewish values inform how we nurture the world around us, as well as the worlds within us, the realms of conscience and character that ennoble our humanity. Could the founding families of WRT ever have envisioned how thoroughly artificial intelligence would change our lives, to the point that we now stand on the cusp of a new era in human civilization, one that will fundamentally redefine the nature of human consciousness. And yet our founders labored so that their forward-looking, creative undertaking would never shy away from applying the creative genius of the Jewish tradition to unprecedented challenges. Reform Judaism honors tradition while embracing modernity. It proposes that no matter how much may change in our world, no matter how far we advance in intelligence or power, we must maintain our moral compass. To this end, we appreciate that the technologies of our age have allowed us to live longer and healthier lives, to eradicate dreaded diseases, to lift millions from poverty, to explore new worlds. We enjoy an endless array of consumer goods, entertainment, and diversions, comforts and conveniences, custom tailored to our every preference. Piping hot synthetic Korean fried chicken from a vending machine? Sure. A 3D printed bespoke suit and one-of-a-kind Louboutins at the push of a button? We can do that now. 1-hour drone delivery of a custom-built family hovercraft? Easy. A streaming holographic sitcom featuring simulated likenesses of all your best friends? Done. At the same time, we have traded off privacy, choice, and autonomy. Imagine a time not distant from now when your thoughts can be uploaded to the cloud, stored, retrievable, transmissible. You'll never again forget an appointment, but every mistake you've ever made will be remembered, accessible to all of humanity in perpetuity. Even with the democratization of information made possible by the internet, it should surprise no one that the information technologies of the 21st century have managed to turn our data into profit, allowing powerful interests to become ever more powerful. And yet we have come here today for reasons whose value could never be reduced to data points. We're here to affirm a powerful idea, a conversation encompassing millennia and a multitude of voices, all conveying how to live with purpose and creativity in a reeling world. We are the people of Torah. We affirm with our lives what Torah affirms with our words, that life is a gift, not an entitlement, that to harm or hurt or humiliate another human being violates our dignity and dishonors the image of God within all, that we are summoned to live beyond ourselves in service of those who have less and who need more. These Torah principles transcend time and circumstance. They usually defy what is trendy, popular, or socially encouraged. They speak, as my friend and teacher Rabbi Larry Hoffman memorably put it, in a register that does justice to the human condition. And that is why they matter now more than ever. At some point, everyone agrees, although no one agrees exactly when, artificial intelligence did become intelligent, extremely intelligent, writing prize-winning biographies, negotiating international treaties, reconceptualizing particle physics intelligent. Throughout human history, deeds both heroic and horrific have been carried out with advanced intelligence. But we are Jews, people of Torah, and we prize wisdom above intelligence. Our founders would be proud that you have continued to embed Torah at the heart of everything WRT does. And in one further way, you have kept the flame of our founders' vision burning brightly, even in the darkening shadows. The erosion of democracy and the global lurch toward autocracy must continue to be forcefully resisted. Democracy is not a birthright. It is a struggle that must be won by every generation in every election. At the dawn of the new millennium, many optimistically hailed the 21st as the century of democracy. Authoritarian regimes like Malaysia, Myanmar, and Tunisia all became democracies. Across the globe, the future looked bright. What we can say now, in hindsight, just past the midpoint of the 21st century, is simply this: we were wrong. A vast array of contributing factors to democratic backsliding accumulated in rapid succession. A rise in violent extremism leading up to and following 9/11, the swift ascent and crushing fall of the Arab Spring, the social media-fueled proliferation of conspiracies and lies, the growing disdain for international norms, the exploitation of xenophobia for political gain, the leverage wielded by anti-democratic regimes like Russia, China, and Iran to erode Western confidence in democracy, the silencing of dissent, the banning of books, the empowering of autocrats and their sympathizers. And meanwhile, with every passing year, checks on abuse of power have deteriorated, and democracy's opponents have labored persistently to dismantle the post-World War II international order and the restraints that it imposed on their ambitions. Many of us, watching this disaster unfold in slow motion over the first 25 years of the new century, crossed our fingers and held our breath, hoping it would just be a phase. From the view today in 2053, when more than half of the world's 10 billion people live under authoritarian rule, we know better. And still, this wouldn't be a Jewish message if I said all hope is lost. For we are the people of Israel, and we were born to resist tyranny. From antiquity, Judaism has warned against rulers who arrogate authority unto themselves. Moses feared that a king would hoard treasure and accumulate stables and harems, that a king would inevitably bring the people back to Egypt, which may or may not have been a metaphor. So Moses demanded that the king must keep a scroll of Torah, a scroll of the law, by the throne at all times. No person, not even the king, especially not the king, is above the law. And so you should take pride that shortly after our rededication as we reformed together, WRT also became a chartering member of the Alliance for Human Advancement, AHA, a collective of spiritual communities and civic institutions, all dedicated to the advancement of human freedom, to open spiritual expression, to the promotion of democratic principles. Since its founding in 2043, AHA has grown from 100 member institutions to over 25,000, operating chapters on every continent, in over 170 countries, and in all 52 United States. You have come to realize the great good that we can accomplish together as a congregation, but what we can accomplish together as a global community is orders of magnitude greater. You know, throughout my rabbinate, I've heard innumerable objections to organized religion, a common trope among those who would extrapolate a damning appraisal from the admittedly too many examples of willfully ignorant fundamentalism and violent extremism. Such critics, though certainly well-intentioned, paint with too broad a brush, neglecting the unsung heroism of spiritual communities like ours, WRT, that do God's work here on earth, day in and day out, and that magnify and multiply the good that any one of us could do acting alone. We desperately need our congregations, our spiritual collectives. As the 21st century dawned, we entered a period of hyper-individualism. Families, social clubs, bowling leagues, and especially congregations began to disintegrate, their prominence in American life fading with each passing year. By 2023, the great de-churching of Americans had reduced congregational affiliation by at least 40% with no end in sight. We began to spend more time with our cell phones than with other people, taking in only those curated sound bites that would corroborate our already held views, increasing our isolation even as we boasted of how connected our tools had allowed us to become. We endured not only pandemics of pathogens, but pandemics of loneliness, aimlessness, loss of purpose. Many of us lost our way. Many forgot that above all else, Our founders cherished community and understood that Judaism cannot thrive without a people to live it and love it. We, the Jewish people, have to shoulder the responsibility to keep our sacred enterprise vital. And you, who have carried the torch of commitment to WRT for a century, have come to understand that congregations must aspire to do so much more than provide life cycle rituals and high holiday services in exchange for something called dues. Congregations are, rather, a force multiplier for good. Congregations are where we, the people of God, the people of Torah, the people of Israel, come together to speak in a register that does justice to the human condition. Congregations are where we remember who we are, what matters, what we will accomplish together. Every time you renew your membership at WRT, you remember. And what you have remembered along the way marks the fulfillment of our founders' vision, that we are not an island, but part of an ecosystem, one in which we all take turns giving and receiving, needing and being needed, where our actions make a difference that we may not perceive here and now, but which will bless the generations after us. This ecosystem, WRT, needs to be nourished and nurtured day by day and year by year, not just by your clergy and professional staff, but by you, the congregation. For all our advancements, when it comes to building a flourishing congregation, there is no substitute for rolling up your sleeves, showing up, and doing the work. And that, my friends, is what I hope we will all remember, backwards and forwards, on this first day of the next 100 years of our journey. But oh, I see that the flasher on the chronosync wants me to wrap this up. And I hear that Jack from Standing Room has prepared a lovely oneg for us. Some things never change. So Kelly and I will look forward to greeting you after services on the rooftop holodeck. Chazak ve'amatz, be strong and of good courage, WRT, and may God bless our work, bless our community, bless our people, the human family, and bless this little home we call the world. Amen.
September when life was slow and oh so mellow. Try to remember the kind of September when grass was green and grain was yellow. Try to remember the kind of September when you were a tender and callow fellow. Try to remember, and if you remember, then follow.
Try to remember when life was so tender that no one wept except the willow. Try to remember when life was so tender that dreams were kept beside your pillow. Try to remember when life was so tender that love was an ember about to billow. Try to remember, and if you remember, then follow. Follow, 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 follow.
Follow, 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 follow.
Deep in December, it's
I want to express my gratitude to cantors Amanda Kleinman, Isaac Sanadasor, and our astonishingly talented and soulful team of musicians. You bring to life our prayers and the innermost yearnings of the heart, and you help us all to remember. I also want to acknowledge with love and gratitude the role that Kelly plays as we get up to the high holidays. First of all, she deals with all of my anxiety with grace and compassion. Secondly, she is an incomparable sermon editor, and many of my favorite lines in the address that I offered this morning were hers. And meaningfully, she also is deeply steeped in the music of musical theater, of course, as a professional in that vocation, and said, wouldn't that be nice to sing Try to Remember from the Fantastics this morning? Thanks, honey. We now will hear the other sound that forces us to remember, the sound of the shofar, as we turn to page 202 and rise for the great Aleinu. Standing and continue in the middle of 205. Dwell on each sound of the shofar. Contemplate its meaning. Tkiya, one whole note. Shvarim truah, 3 broken notes, 9 staccato notes. Tkiya, one whole note. My return to the right path has the power to make me whole again. Tkiya, once I was whole. Shvarim truah, in the wear and tear of living, I became broken and shattered. Tkiya, my tshuva has the power to make me whole again, as we continue at the top of 206.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kideshanu b'mitzvotav, וציוונו לשמוע קול שופר.
אמן.
ברוך אתה אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. Tekiah, Shvarim Truah, Tekiah, Tekiah, Shvarim, Tekiah, Tekiah, Teruah, Tekiah.
The middle of 207. Today the world is born anew. This day the whole of creation stands before you to be judged. As we are your children, love us in the way of mothers and fathers. As we are yours in service, guide us by the light of your justice, grace, and holiness. Page 267. God of remembrance, remember the covenant of our ancestors. We reaffirm it today. Remember we are a people of noble ideals. Help us to attain them. Remember all your people, all the nations on the road to peace. Bless their efforts. Remember with mercy the binding of Isaac, the sorrow of Sarah, Abraham's words, "Here I am." Our memory fades, but you remember all that we have forgotten. Your presence is a throne where all things matter and nothing is lost. Blessed are you, Adonai. You remember the covenant. You remember us.
Baruch atah Adonai, zocher haberit.
Please rise.
Tekiah, Shvarim Truah, Tekiah, Tekiah, Shvarim, Tekiah, Tekiah, Teruah, Tekiah.
You may be seated.
Maybe the
Continuing at the top of 282. You revealed your glory, a presence in a cloud, and a people became holy when you spoke with them. Amid thunder and lightning you made yourself known. With blasting shofar you appeared. God revealed to us and to our fathers and mothers before us, God of revelation. Play the song of our freedom on the great shofar. Let your banner fly over the gathering of our exiles. Bring back the dispersed. Let those who are scattered find their way home. Let joyful songs of Zion greet us in Jerusalem, your holy city, the place of our people's eternal happiness. We rise 284. Blessed are you in our lives, Adonai. You hear with love the shofar, true voice of your people Israel.
Baruch atah Adonai, shomea kol truat amo Yisrael, berachamim tkiah, shevarim truat, tkiah, tkiah, shevarim, tkiah, tkiah, teruah, tkiah gedolah.
Yesher koach.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא. יהיה אדוני אחד. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. ביום
On this Yom HaZikaron, this day of remembering, all remember as one. We remember the founding families of WRT. We remember the loved ones from our own family who used to sit among us, praying with us and welcoming a new year, reeling to the sound of the shofar, enjoying the taste of apples and honey. We remember them all with love and with commitment to their ideals. This time we will turn to the Mourner's Kaddish on page 292 and stand in remembrance. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'galau v'zman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevarach le'olam alamei amaya, yiparach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudesha b'richu, Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shalom araba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'imromav, hu ya'asei shalom, aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen.
As we move toward the conclusion of our service, I'd like to pause just for a moment to thank the incredible team of staff and lay leaders who worked tirelessly over the months leading up to our high holidays so that our community can come together for this beautiful experience. First, to our musicians, to Jerome Morris on percussion, who we are so fortunate to have as part of our musical team every Shabbat, to Rebecca Cherry, our incomparable violinist who pours her heart and her neshama, her soul, into every note that she plays, to Lachlan Glenn, our high holiday pianist and conductor. He's the one who really makes these services come together, both with his artistry and with his leadership of our musical team. To the vocal quintet who have made these services what they are over these past several decades, we are so happy to be joined by Elizabeth Farnham, Phyllis Whitehouse, Grace Check, Hayes Biggs, and Cameron Smith. I'd also like to acknowledge those members of our WRT professional team who work so hard during these weeks to help make sure our holiday observances run smoothly. Thank you to our executive director, Ellie Kornreich, to our facilities team under the direction of Al Betancourt, our security team under the direction of Chris Napolitano, our AV team under the direction of Andrew Yanchishin, our communications team, Danielle Feigenbaum, our communications director, and Hillary Fontana, our ticket concierge, and to our administrative team as well under the direction of Amy Rosberg, our director of congregant relations and pastoral care. Our communications and administrative teams do so much work behind the scenes to help the members of our congregation feel cared for around these high holidays and every day. I'd like to thank the wonderful members of our congregation who sounded the shofar this morning. Thank you to Norman Weiss, John Mark, and Jeffrey Gendel. And finally, to the ushers who greeted us so warmly this morning, to Dave Schuster, Nancy Michaels, Donna Rabin, Beth Eric, Mike Rahimi, and Mike Simberkoff, with a very special shout out to Nancy Michaels, Erica Radin, Donna Rabin, and David Schuster for leading and coordinating the usher program over the high holidays.
Since the theme of this morning's service has been remembrance, I'll give you just a few more things to remember. Remember to fill your grocery bags with non-perishables that you can bring throughout the holy days and including on the Day of Atonement to feed those in need through the Feeding Westchester, our local food bank. You can also make a donation to Feeding Westchester online or to the WRT Hungry and Homeless Fund. You can look at the website, wrtemple.org, where there is a detailed schedule of all services. Basically, you're already doing the right thing, showing up to the services on time with entrance cards that match the service that you signed up for. We also invite you to come back tomorrow for Rosh Hashanah services day 2 at 10 o'clock right here in the sanctuary, or if you are with smaller kids and would like to do some family apple picking for Rosh Hashanah, that will meet off-site at 10:30 a.m. at Wilkins Fruit and Fur Farm, about a half hour from here. And then finally, Tashlich with Young Israel of Scarsdale, our local modern Orthodox congregation, will be observed joyously, as it is every year, at 5:30 p.m. at Carpenter's Pond behind Young Israel off of Weaver Street. That is tomorrow, not today. Tomorrow on the second day of Rosh Hashanah because of Shabbat today, 5:30 p.m. We're going to conclude our service by inviting the congregation to rise and sing with us.
We're going to sing a Tefillat HaDerech, a blessing for the journey.
Wrap us in perfect peace. Guide our steps steadily forward as we go on our way. Bless us with compassion as we walk new paths ahead. Bless us with strength for the journey, and we say Amen.
All together, Amen.
Amen, 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 Beru, amen.
May we be protected. May we feel held and free. May we have patience and wisdom as we go on our way. Bless us with the knowing that we are never alone. Bless us with love for the journey, and we say Amen. Amen, 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 Beru, amen, 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 Beru,
Shabbat Shalom, Shana Tova.
Shana Tova.